Hello and welcome to the Scientific Investor channel. As always, in this video we will be sharing interesting technical analysis for different cryptocurrencies such as XRP, XLM, LTC, BTC. And then we will look different recent news articles from different providers. Then we will actually move on to the Twitter updates. We'll go through them. We'll discuss what the writers are expressing. So first, looking at the entire crypto market, it looks green on a daily time frame. It looks green. Say Bitcoin is around 3% up, Ether 2.6, XRP 0.5, Litecoin 3%, and Stellar 8.38%. Looking at the weekly, it's 15% up for XLM. Whereas XRP is in negative territory, minus 3.72. So that's not bad. Now let's look at the chart analysis. This is XRP on a 12-hour time frame. Looking at the 12-hour time frame for XRP, we can see that it's actually moving as a downward sloping trend line. Now the bottom is in here, and from this particular point, it's actually been moving higher. And as we talked about XRP in our yesterday's video, we actually looked at different time frames, and we were having an opinion that this is gonna make a potential trend line here when it was going to touch here, or it was at this particular point. In my opinion, during that time, we stated that this can be a potential trend line moving forward for XRP here, because we actually saw multiple touches in this. But if we connect this, what we can see at the top, we are still below the trend line but trying to break higher. So looking at the MACD, we actually got a cross to the upside on a 4-hour time frame. Now, we actually compared XRP and XLM last time, saying that the rounding bottom pattern, which was working on for Stellar, is similar for XRP too. If we zoom out a little bit and look at it on a 4-hour, 12-hour, larger time frame, to see that it is forming a rounded bottom. As you can see, that's a rounded bottom, which I've been talking about previously. But at this particular time, we are still touching the rounded bottom. We haven't moved up higher. Like for XLM, as we can see that it bounced up from that rounding bottom, and now the upper trend line, which is there from the peak of last bull run, that's beginning of 2018. So we can say that it's almost 2 years that trend line is acting as a resistance, and now we are at the point where possibly we can break it. Now that's my opinion, but looking at the charts, I feel that even in daily, the MACD is again crossing upwards. That's on a 12-hour time frame. Now looking at the daily, we actually bounced off. We didn't actually cross down to the downside in daily, and on weekly we just crossed in the positive direction. So for me, I consider that as a positive trend, because we are now above 20-day moving average on a weekly chart. That's actually very good while looking at it in a technical aspect. So back to XRP, if we are looking the same on daily time frame, zooming it and build out, and when we see that the MACD is actually crossed to the downside on daily and the price is below the trend line, so there is a potential chance that it may visit a bit lower, say marking the bottom of the trend line, or else it may consolidate in that area, because in the longer time frame, say in a weekly, we actually have a MACD cross upside and we are still awaiting a positive movement. Say if we zoom in, we can see that the MACD has crossed above. We are still at that particular point where it's like make it or break it, and the 200-day moving average, 20 and 50-day moving average is acting at a resistance now. But if we zoom in a little bit in the daily time frame, Now we are going to get these as a support. Like the 50-day moving average is acting as a support now. We bounced off from that. Even previously, when we touched the bottom of this trend line, we touched below that, but yeah, we closed above the 50-day moving average and moved higher. So now 1 hour chart for XRP, looking at the MACD and the moving average, I personally feel that we are actually again making another slope in which we actually managed to break higher from the 20 and 50 averages, and now hopefully the 20 and 50 together can act as a support for that, because in that aspect we can actually look forward to at least 0.3 in a couple of days. Now that's just my opinion, but if this area is still acting as a resistance, we may see further downside. But on 4 hour time frame, as we got a MACD cross and the volume is slipping down, hopefully if a volume comes up with the buy, it may move back in this trading range. Now looking at Litecoin, this is not that longer time frame trend, because the longer time frame trend for LTC actually broke here early 2019, and then it started moving up high. Whereas if we look at that for stellar lumens or stellar lumens, it's still within that trend. But for XRP, if we zoom out and look at it on a daily time frame on a log scale, like I'm using log scale, it's easy for me in that way. So we see that the longer time frame trend for XRP more or less looks like it broke that support, that resistance here. Now it's being consolidating, testing that trend line again and again. Whereas the stellar is still below that. Litecoin has actually already broke that resistance and went up high. Now it is sloping down in a downward channel. Previously, and as we discussed in our last video, it just broke out and we got a retest. Now the price is actually bouncing up, and even the MACD has got a bounce in there. So if we look at it on a 12 hour and a 4 hour, we can see that just the 200-day moving average is acting as a resistance in 12 hour, and all the moving averages which I have plotted, like 20, 50 and 200, is acting as a support right now. So the price of LTC can actually move high. Then when we look at Bitcoin, now this is a Bitcoin on 4 hour chart. I actually plotted this in 4 hour because you can see at the top we have double touches, at the bottom also we have that. So if we look at that perspective, we are now back in the top area. So if the price is able to move a bit high, like the MACD has crossed in a positive way, that's crossed upside on 4 hour chart, and looking at it on the 12 hour, the price is moving up high, and the MACD is at the bottom. But at the same time, we can see that daily we actually got a negative cross. That is not actually a good sign for Bitcoin. But on weekly, we are gonna make a bottom. The MACD has reached almost the bottom. It's showing that there may be further downside, but not that much price variation. Maybe it will bottom around 8,700, 8,800. Now just looking at the news updates, this one is particularly for Ripple. Okay, anyway, most of the news I will be sharing is related to Ripple XRP. Now this one is actually a positive news. 37 companies now using XRP, with 24 of them launching their on-demand liquidity. Now this is a list of companies which are using the Ripple's on-demand liquidity. I'll actually link all these articles in the description, so if you guys actually want to go through it, you'll get more knowledge if you need, because I believe all the titles is self-explanatory. It's giving you all the information which you actually need. Now showing the transaction volume and all, this particular author is arguing that the MoneyGram has a particular positive effect for XRP. It's actually ramping up its volume. So as they announced, they'll be working on 4 corridors it will be much more transaction compared to what we have now, because the use case is actually increasing day by day and the company is expanding day by day. And this author is actually trying to put a negative perspective, saying Bitcoin and XRP was selling off when LTC and XLM was rising up. But personally, what I believe is, see, when he's actually comparing, see, in this particular point, he's actually comparing, say, I'm quoting him, the broader market was also selling off, with 39 out of top 100 cryptos advancing and 61 declining. It's a big reversal from previous week, when 78 out of top 100 cryptocurrencies were advancing and only 22 declined. So he's actually comparing between the cryptocurrencies. There is a lot of cryptocurrencies and he's comparing among first 100. And I'm actually okay with it. But as CEO of Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse stated, 1% of cryptocurrencies will survive, the others may fail. Because at the end of the day, you need use cases, utility for that token, otherwise it's waste. So for XRP, it's now having a valid use case and regulated financial institutions are using that. Okay, now in this article, the crypto insider plots Bitcoin boom to 1 million plus XRP Ripple. Okay, they actually coded, but we'll directly jump into the area of XRP. So when we look at that, now this is an ad for eToro. I actually personally use that platform, so it's actually a good platform if you want to copy someone else, or if you want to manage your portfolio without copying some other, but just by watching what they are doing, how they are doing. If you want to learn, it's useful. They actually give you now this is actually paid for eToro. I actually had that in my news today, but that advertisement came in between. So anyway, it's a good platform in which you actually get your virtual account with $100,000 to play around, learn more. So now back here, the Ripple XRP. Now the founder and CEO of freelance market GoLance has confirmed speculation that the company is utilizing on-demand liquidity. And here's a quote: "Our customers are looking for the lowest cost and fastest service. On-demand liquidity allows us to offer that." And they directly speak out that it gives us a strong competitive edge over our counterparts. Cost and speed made the decision for us to partner with Ripple. So sooner or later, the tipping point is here. Most of the financial institutions can't actually survive. Say, money. I recently saw an advertisement from Western Union showing the best fees is no fees. But at that time, I would actually, my mind just went back to one of a video from Crypto Airy. She actually showcased that, yeah, they say that the fees is like this, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, you go to MoneyGram's website and Western Union's website, open it simultaneously, and say take same corridor from US to India or some other, but the same, and check if you're sending $1,000, how much you are receiving at the end in that fiat currencies. The transaction conversion fees and charges has to be looked up, because on that particular video I'm talking about, Crypto showcase that there is difference, clear difference, around $4 difference. Why? Because if they're saying zero fees and the conversion rate is entirely different for two providers, hopefully the retail customers or the consumers are not. Right? We know we can check what will be the total applicable fees for us, and we'll decide for our advantage, right? We won't think about the company. Why to make profit for the company? If they are thinking about us, if they are going into XRP, okay. Because one of our staff from Western Union, I saw talking with some governmental authorities along with Ripple's member. Her name was Denette Margin. So at that time also they were talking about even from 10 years before this was being like this, blah blah blah, nothing happened, we are still here and we will be here, blah 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 blah. But in next 2 to 5 years we can understand that. Okay, anyway, jumping up to the next one, this guy is actually showing that wave 5 and time for a correction, because he's showing that previously this was wave 5 and we got a correction here. Now this is also considering the longer time frame resistance for this chart. So yeah, we are all happy if we get a pump here up to at least 0.42. Now this is eToro, the platform. on which you can actually trade crypto. You have your own wallet there. Now they actually increasing their partnerships. They actually haven't disclosed for what they have invested onto the acquisition of Delta, but they announced that the Delta will become a part of eToro Group. This our second acquisition this year and reflects our commitment to continued growth and innovation. So yeah, when we started eToro, our goal was to disrupt the world of trading. We wanted to change the way people think about trading and investing. Yes, it is a good side actually. As I told previously, I personally use that and I feel really good about the selection of that particular platform, and I started 2.5 years back and I'm still there. I'm happy about that. The options they provide us okay. Just for me, I use the chart from different providers, but the reason for this one is, yeah, most of them will be happy with the options they provide, but I feel the chart side can be a bit improved for eToro. The options they provide and all, like say if you have the options in the Coin Paprika or Daily FX, you have a lot, or even in TradingView you have a lot of options, and the ease for technical analysis is more, but for trading and other aspects, eToro is better. Okay, anyway, let's just jump into the Twitter posts. This one is from Cryptopolis. Now this one is interesting. It's the article is asking you why it's so hard to hodl. As I told you in my first video, I'm here from last 2.5 years. That means I've seen all the crash, at the early stages of my crypto currency touches. I didn't actually dip my toe in. I just jumped into the crypto, fled. Luckily, I didn't die in that. I managed to swim out and hold on to the shows, and I'm still holding. But it was hard. But as I told, if you are researching about new information, if you are knowing what the fundamental thing is going on in the background for your particular asset, like mine, the majority is XRP. So in that, it's always great news. Just the price is fluctuating, and yeah, it's price, right? The psychology of human beings get really weird when it is with the value, money. Okay, anyway, this particular post is showing that from November the 12th, that's tomorrow for me. I'm from South Korea right now, so it's already 11th for me. Now they are showing that the liquidity based metrics will be launched on November 12th. So the coin market cap is coming up with new algorithm. Now this one is from XRP Research Center. That's actually stuck. Okay, now just we'll move on to the post from okay, I'm back. So this is from XRP Research Center. He's actually showing that additions since December 2018, extra rapid production agreements, you see that Spring investments, Ripple net integrators. Then if you see some, these are actually recent. Australian dollar ODL corridor goes live with FX Flash and BTC markets. So every time, every week, it's like we have a lot of positive news for XRP. Okay, now looking at the analysis of I'm Awake. This is Mr. Level Up. You can find his videos in YouTube. He shows good patterns. He try to understand in different time frames and explain why, where, and all. So if you guys are interested, you can actually go check him in YouTube. So this is a possible temporary drawdown for XRP before we go up, because he's showing that. You can actually see the time frame and his comparisons. Then this one is from Magic Arcane at the Real Arcane. So I actually talked in my previous videos, I have actually talked about talked about the Wyckoff patterns, Wyckoff accumulation, Wyckoff distribution, and if we see that, I believe that we are in Wyckoff accumulation. If we look at XRP chart on a weekly, you can actually see that clearly. Like if you actually put in the weekly chart of XRP, then draw all the Wyckoff lines in it, you'll actually understand that. Now I'll just put it roughly. there will be one line here, there will be another here, there will be another at the top. So that's just rough. Okay, if you want to see that, I actually did a better comparison in my previous video. I'll actually link at the top. If you click here at the top, you can see that. Now this I'm showing not directly related to Ripple here. This one is actually Italian court convicts ex-Deutsche Bank staff in derivative cases. There's a lot of fraud, right? In the traditional financial industry, there's a lot of fraud. Now this one is just before 3 hours from at XRP steward. Media highlight, SPQR media highlight the companies that attend Swell 2019, the list created by Leo. Okay, I'm not gonna spell that because I'm not sure how it's pronounced. So the third largest bank in the United States by asset, Citigroup, Deutsche Bank, largest German bank, assets by this, and many more. So these are the companies who actually attended the Swell, and I just talk to you here about Deutsche Bank. There's a lot of issues in that bank right now. We are seeing that from a lot of news articles. We discussed that previously on our different videos. And this is a chat analysis, not a Twitter post, but I just forgot to show you this first. In this also, the analyst is actually trying to showcase coiling up of the price here before the pump, a coiling up before the pump, a coiling up before the pump. So he's actually arguing that XRP's fractal coiling at the end, profitable prospects in near term. That's published recently, just 7 hours ago. Now these are all showing number 10, and I'm doing my video on number 11 because of the time region. I'm currently in East Asia, so Far East Asia, so the time is different. So for you guys, I'll actually link all those in my description, and if you like the content I'm providing, please subscribe to the channel and like the contents. I'll meet you guys on the next video.